Is 6:30. I'm going to call the meeting. I'm going to do a roll call in.
Brian Winslow.
Stephanie Arroyo.
Okay, good.
Ginger DeHolt, Secretary.
Shane Wells.
Scott Rooney, Superintendent of Schools.
Nate Byrne, Student Service Director. Sorry, I was.
Jocelyn Young, Principal.
Adrian Alford, Assistant Principal.
Ooh, nice and loud.
Thank you. I like to get my voice out there.
All right, so I'll turn it over to Principal Young on the Pledge of Allegiance.
And I'll turn it over to Mr. Alford, who invited our student for tonight.
I'll put it back to Miss Young. No, I'm kidding. All right. So we have Reagan Erickson from 5th grade. She's in Miss Witt's room, and she's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So when you're ready, Reagan, go for it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nicely done. So some of the great qualities of Reagan is she's very creative. She loves to tell stories. Very friendly and warm. She's great with the arts and theater. As a matter of fact, I plucked her out of drama today to ask her if she wanted to come. Great sense of humor. We often get to joke around. I've seen her joke around with her colleagues and her peers. And I think it makes people feel really welcoming. Matter of fact, we got a new student recently who I believe Reagan went out of her way to make feel like a part of the Northwood community. So that's why I asked her to come tonight.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
All right, bills and manifests are going around. Okay. We are gonna open up to open public comment, gender adjustments, because we do need to go into a non-public. So I'm gonna jump to number 7 and any opening public comment. All right, there were so many people here, so I thought maybe people wanted to talk. So, all right, well, we're gonna go into non-public. We have to roll call in, right, on non-public? So,
I'll make a motion to go into non-public
Okay.
under what RSA?
RSA 91A32.
A and C.
A and C?
All right, I'll so moved, and Brian Winslow, yes.
Second, and Stephanie Arroyo.
Yes, Shane Wells? And that's it. We have enough. Thank you. All right, we will continue on to the consent agenda, approval of school board minutes of 3/21/19, and public and non-public. I'll take a motion for those.
So moved.
I'll second that. And further discussion on anything on the consent agenda?
We had discussed at some point about just putting the names of people who abstained from votes or voted in favor of votes or opposed to votes in the future. If that, I think, would be something I'd like to see in our minutes. That'd be good.
So you want the names of whoever
Right.
voted no or?
Right. So
Abstained.
where I missed the beginning of the meeting last time, I read about that you abstained from voting on who was to
vice
be
chair.
vice chair. I assume that it was you, but it wasn't actually in the minutes. It was
Right.
just one abstention, so.
Yep.
Okay, so would you guys like me to fix that for the
Yes,
improvement?
I say we
I
could
can do that.
still go ahead and approve that with those adjustments.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Yeah.
All right, passes 3-0. All right, moving along, student service report.
So in my report, you can see some of the workshops that my department has been going to. Additionally, I'll just highlight one section, and I'll be quick, and that is the Medicaid to schools issues. We're continuing to see some trends with that. We're staying pretty neutral or even with what we projected. However, what the state's seeing and we're seeing is that with the economy spiking, going up, that those numbers are going down because less people are qualifying for the aid. It's going in and out so quickly, which is a good thing, that more people are being able to provide their own healthcare and get everything going. So that is a decrease in our overall returns, but not dramatically so. Okay? Any other questions about the report? In addition to, I also included your indicator 11, which I spoke about at the previous meeting, just specific to Northwood.
Cool. Any further questions or comments? No? All right. All right, thank you. We'll move it on to principals report.
Good evening. Our report begins on page 16. I'll start with something that I didn't include in the report, just an update on our teacher workshop day from a couple weeks ago. We had seen you just before that day. We spent the morning at Co-Brown, heard from Curriculum Director of the Year from Maine, Matt Shea, who spoke about personalizing learning, cultivating hope in all learners. Our staff found him really inspiring, and I thought it was a nice introduction to the idea of really starting to build around the idea of individualized competency-based instruction. And then we came back and had kind of a downer of an afternoon with some frontline absence training and signs of suicide awareness training. But the morning was great. And the afternoon was good too,
Should've
just
done it the opposite.
not quite as uplifting.
Yeah, flip that, yeah. Yeah, flip it.
You only have so much time. Yeah, but you couldn't know and tell at the same time.
No.
No.
I did one of those. It was not good.
And then moving on to our written report in the packet, we had talked last meeting about the grade level configurations for the coming year. This was not an easy puzzle to figure out. We had a lot of input from the building leadership team, who got kind of a worksheet so that they could see what the actual experience is, thinking about all of the variables that go into determining the number of sections of each grade level. We then, as a team, made a decision with these numbers, sent that out for some feedback from staff, did not make any substantive changes based on that feedback. So the things that we considered were the number of students. It doesn't vary wildly. We have 38 as our smallest class and 44 as our biggest class. So they all round to 40. The number of students in each grade level who are on IEPs or 504s. The social behavioral challenges in a grade level, which vary wildly. Impact on scheduling has to do with the middle school configuration specifically. We have our 7th and 8th graders move through 5 core classes in a day. So to have a different number of groups of students would be a challenge. If we had 6 groups, for example, we have 1 group who's not in a core class. If we have 4 group, we have a teacher who doesn't have a class. So it made sense to us to keep 5 groups in 7th and 8th grade. We also thought about, for kindergarten, for example, the size of the rooms, the fact that they have dedicated paraprofessional support. Those are the only rooms in the building that have bathrooms en suite, if you will. And so we came up with this list, given our current number of staff, classroom teachers, which is 22. One thing to think about, and that we would like board input on, is we are losing a few veteran teachers who are high on the pay scale. As we hire younger, less experienced, and probably less educated teachers, they are significantly lower on the pay scale, and that will free up some funds. It could potentially free up enough funds, I think it will, to provide for a 23rd classroom teacher position. If that were to happen, then we would have 3 sections of 2nd grade instead of 2. So something to think about there. If you have input now, I'm happy to hear it.
My only question was around that 2nd grade classroom, having 21 kids. I was hoping that's where you were going with that, so I think that would definitely make sense.
Can the superintendent make a recommendation?
Yes, please.
Ms. Young, do you think you could make an appointment with me and we can try to determine your hiring, like N+5, N+3, like what you think project your hires would be? And then we can compare those to the savings from the retirements and attrition.
Sure.
And then come back to the board with a number that they either will or won't feel comfortable with. And then we can go from there.
Now, I would prefer to have a discussion with the full board here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That'll give us a 2-week, that'll give us a 2-week break, and we'll come back with a little more.
Well, what's to say if we replace an 8th grade teacher with someone that's qualified that needs to be high on the pay scale?
Well, I think in math, you're gonna have a challenge. potentially. You won't have that variability that you have in like your K-8 position, your elementary certifications, just supply and demand wise. I think you may be limited in, what are your 3 positions, Jocelyn? Math?
So we have 7-8 ELA, 7-8 math,
Yeah.
first grade and fourth grade are currently open.
So, first and fourth? So you may, in your math hiring, have to
Third section of first grade.
hire higher. But in ELA, first and fourth, you'll probably come in with somebody with 5 years of experience, a master's degree. We can look at that and then come back to you with that number. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense.
And then we'll have the full board there, and then we can explain that, and then you can make a recommendation. I also share the concern. I mean, it's, sometimes you lose kids, sometimes you gain kids, but it's April, and you already know you got 21 in second grade. Now, if it was 21 in fifth grade, I'd be a little more comfortable with that because the kids are a little more independent. But I get very concerned when we're going K, 1, 2, 3, and we're at 20 now, or 21. So I think we can do a little more work, if that's okay, and that way you'll have a full board, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay.
All right? And maybe you might have some hires by then, too. Do you have started interviewing?
We are interviewing for the middle school positions next week.
So we may have even more information then.
Okay.
So, all right?
All right.
That's a general question, related but not exactly related. When we talk about classroom assistants and whatnot, I know there's one-on-one pairs. Do we have some of our paraprofessionals just assigned to a classroom as an assistant, or is every paraprofessional assigned to a specific student?
We have 4 regular ed paraprofessionals. We have 1 dedicated paraprofessional in each kindergarten classroom, and then we have 2 paraprofessionals who serve as reading tutors and provide reading intervention to students K through 6. And then every other paraprofessional in the building is paid through either Title I, which is a selection process, or special education. So kindergarten would be the only one that fits
Okay.
your description of assigned to a classroom.
Thank you.
I mean, you may end up with a class of 21 with a paraprofessional in the room just because that's where the special ed student was placed.
Right, but they're
However, we
working
need
with
to
that
remember-
student, not with the class.
I'm sure the student services director would support this. We need to remember that those paraprofessionals are there for the special education students first, not
Yep.
saying they can't help assist or augment or help with instruction, but their primary responsibility are those identified students.
Yep, understood.
And their services are driven by the IEP, so.
We'll wait for the
Do you agree
numbers.
with that?
Yes.
Yes, I thought so.
I would disagree.
You're the one that has a game you want to get home to.
Yeah, really. And these young ladies have homework.
Yeah, they have to write up a report about meeting.
Give us a copy in a minute.
Okay, the rest of our report will move more quickly. I just wanted to acknowledge that our fantastic concerts and art shows that occurred last week. Kindergarten and first grade students performed The Day the Crayons Quit on March 26th. They had a fantastic narrator, AKA me. It was a fun time. They were adorable. And then 5 through 8 band and glee club students performed the Concert for Music in Our Schools month. The next night, both concerts were very well attended, and I want to thank Ms. Hashem and Mrs. Legassi for their hard work getting the kids ready, which is no small feat, in organizing the event, and then we had lots of staff members who were here to help out and attend just to show support for the kids, so that was great to see. Also wanted to let you know that Mr. Robert is working with Gary to get the live streaming up and running. They had some meeting of the minds tonight that I've not been privy to the details of, but we hope to be ready to start in May.
Sweet.
Gary's head isn't moving, so I'm not sure if he agrees with that or not. Teacher Appreciation Week is the first full week in May, and in the past, the school board has contributed $250 towards pastries one day and breakfast another day, and we are interested to know if you would like to do that again.
You're gonna make a motion for that, right? For the pastries? For-
We did last year,
Yeah,
out of the
okay.
school board line in the budget, right?
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to support the Teacher Appreciation Day with a $250 donation for breakfast.
Second?
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Passes 3-0.
And then I have updated the spring calendar on here, and I'll try to continue to include that in the board report moving forward, since it's very busy. One thing I want to highlight is next Tuesday night, we will have a parent night here in the gym at 6 o'clock on the topic of managing challenging behaviors. Do you want to speak to that at all?
I can speak briefly. So
Please.
the gentleman coming in is very well trained and has many years of experience. He will be coming in and working with parents on how to deal with some challenging behaviors, how to set boundaries at home, and how to transfer those boundaries over to school and work with the schools in order to establish some of this stuff. I spoke with him at some length. I'm really looking forward to seeing. It is for parents only, so we're hoping that that can take place and have a large turnout here.
Can we make
It's
it
for all the
mandatory for
districts.
parents?
No.
It is for all the districts to attend, and I will be there just to kind of hear a little bit more, because I'd like to try to bring him into the schools beyond just what he's doing there.
That'll be held at the gym.
And that is really all we had for you.
Can I ask, I've seen the list, our artist resident from May 20th to 23rd. I think I read something about him in here, but could you just remind us who's coming? And
Sure, his name is Merrick Bennett. He's a comic book artist. He'll be working with all grade levels, which is really neat. Typically, that doesn't get to happen. And then he'll be doing a larger project with 4th grade.
Great. Thank you.
One more thing, if I can, I'd like to also say that his bio is up on our SAU website page, as well as information about what he'll be presenting for the parents to take a look to make sure they know what is there.
There's also a link to it on our Facebook page, and your building administrator has been blasting it out, and now we're on camera, so please come. So,
Wonderful.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to superintendent's reports.
all right, personnel report. You don't need one. Congratulations. Everybody's in place and working. We don't have any new hires tonight. Next, update on your transportation credit, because the modified bus routes, yes, Dale will issue a credit if it goes on for any length of time. They'll do that. And then in your packet, it says only, but it should say for information only, are your general assurances, which are your common pages for all your grants. This is my first year as your superintendent. I know in previous years, we just sort of give the assurances and sign off. I've actually got like a crew checking to make sure that all those things are in place that need to be those assurances. So I will bring those assurances back to the board for your signature in 2 weeks. All right? And then off agenda, just a happy little topic. Last night at 11 o'clock, I don't know why, I was leaving the Nottingham meeting. I got an email from a parent, which has sort of created a little mystery. But it's a good mystery, and at least I put some of it together. She says, last week we adopted a puppy from a rescue in Northwood. I'm not going to say which one. In our welcome packet was a nice note from one of your students, Natalie. I'm not going to say who it was. I wondered if you could let her know that we received her note and we love our new puppy. I'm sending a picture of my 4th grader from Loudon Elementary School with her new puppy and her 6-year-old rescue. I think it's wonderful that your school students are donating and supporting pet rescues. So I did a little investigate. There's the puppy, right? That's with the big dog, right?
Yeah.
So, so I came here today to find the student, and this must have been an activity that happened last year or the year before, because the students, when was it? It was the year before. The year before. So I found the student up at Co-Brown. I went up to Co-Brown today to meet with her and show her the email. And it was an interesting conversation because she didn't remember. So that really shifted mine. I was like, these are the things I talked about to the staff at the staff meeting, is that teachers don't know the impact that they're going to have when they do kind things with kids. You don't know for 10 years. And now I was able to say it to the student. It was like, you don't even remember writing this note. And now it's gone, and they've rescued a dog. And so now I'm going to forward you the email and the pictures, and you can respond to this lady. So it was sort of a nice thing. And so that was an email from Alicia Haley, Rusty the puppy, and Mason the dog. So that was my investigation of today, and it only took about a half an hour, and it was nice. So, and that's it for the superintendent's report.
All right. So, moving on, we'll go to new business, fuel bids.
Fuel bids. I have fuel bids. Now, the reason I hand carry those is they're only good until, for a certain amount of time, right? So they expire tomorrow, so I need you to approve them tonight. I'm going to pass them out.
Sweet.
How am I doing on time? Am I doing all right?
Obvious.
Well, wait a minute. No. No. Don't think so. So if you go for a price, it's obvious. If you go for the recommendation, there's been some issues with one of the vendors we used before, and we ran out of oil. And the recommended bidder has done a great job of service and past performance. And if you remember when another oil company went out of business,
They're already out of business.
right, but it's still remember. It's about anybody's reputation.
You didn't have one.
That the bidder really stepped in and helped us out and made sure that we had heat in the building. So the recommendation from the administration is to go with the Rhymes bid of $2.51 a gallon, which puts you over budget by $220. So that's the recommendation.
I'll make a motion to accept the Rhymes bid of $2.51 per gallon.
Okay. Any discussion?
251,
What did I say?
215, I think.
Okay,
Oh,
I
yeah,
meant
I'll
to say
take
$2.51.
Well, anybody would take that one.
I'll note that the bid, although we talked about different in price, it's not really that much of a difference. A little bit.
I mean, it is, when you talk about $22,000 gallons, you're looking at what, $3,000?
But I think on that one, we have to have the 22,000 or we pay a penalty. So if we had a mild winter and don't use the 22,000, we're paying more than that per gallon price.
We're down east, but not with Rhymes?
I try so hard.
I know, I was trying to work that.
It's in the packet, it's public information.
No, it isn't. I just passed it out.
Why do we have tons of them?
Because you have propane
Okay.
too. Let's get through the oil first.
All right, all in favor? All the object?
What was your vote?
No.
2-1.
So you're saying that?
Okay, then.
Next, the same conditions, same recommendation, is you have two bids, one for $1.36 a gallon and one for $1.28.9.
That's for 1,400 gallons, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the bids from Rhymes for propane for $1.36 a gallon.
Second.
Any discussion? Is this the same if we don't use 1,400?
I know nothing about propane, I'm sorry. All my expertise is in oil.
An oil baron?
I don't, I had $28,000, so.
And you're under budget on that.
Yeah.
So even with your over budget on the other one and you're under budget.
It's $100.
It's what's that?
$1,000.
That's 100.
Okay.
We have a budget around the 2170, so. All in favor?
And the answer to your question is yes, this price is for your equipment of 1,400 gallons. So if you go, right, I'm sorry, I was looking at that. What was the vote on that?
3-0.
3-0.
The beep, oh, I'm sorry. Yours.
Hold on a second. Just checking.
I'm still treating it like my report.
So, yeah, we're good with fuel bids. Move on to B policies. We were asked to put these in last meeting, so for FYI, information only.
Ms. Rooney, did you have a comment you were going to make about the B policies, or just that they were FYI?
No, I was acting as if it was under superintendent report, it's under new business, so I misstepped my bounds by bringing it up. So I was waiting for the board chair, that's all.
I understand, thanks.
All right, so that's FYI only. Next is the last day of school.
Okay, so currently, as it sits now, and we're not gonna have any snow days and any ice or anything, and there's gonna be no delays to the rest of the year. As it sits now, your last day of school for students is Monday, June
21st.
No, that's Friday.
Yeah, 24th.
It's,
If we did 3 extra days, it would be June 24th, yes.
right. However, we have the option of looking at hours versus days, and Jocelyn has calculated the hours, and it's the middle school hours that are most concerned because it goes from 9:45 to 9:90. And the board does have the room right now to make the last student day the 21st, and the last staff day the 24th.
Yep.
So that decision I mean, you can make that decision now, just understand that if we have an event and I need to get up at 4:30 in the morning and act on that event, that it's going to potentially change that, and then I'm gonna be tired, but.
So are you looking for a motion to set bar, or should we wait for another meeting, or to the letters?
I'd like to
or
get
more-
through April, but I'd like to put this back on.
The
like,
18th?
After that.
Okay.
So the
I think
first,
that the public needs to know, yeah, you're looking at the 21st right now, but that could change. I mean, so,
Okay.
I think May is gonna be if we do it at the first meeting in May, chance that will stick is greater than in the next few weeks, right? Does that make sense?
so May 2nd will be our next. Yep. All right, sign security, new business.
Security, we did in non-public, and I'm gonna make a recommendation about your sign. And I'm gonna recommend that your business administrator right now is trying to tighten up your financials. He was able to tighten up in other districts last night and come up with a range for fund balance. I think I'd like to put this back on the agenda for the meeting he's at, the next meeting. And then you'll have some more data on your fund balance. Also, potentially, we could know about what I talked to you about in non-public, and then you can make a decision about the sign. So, does that make sense?
Makes sense? All right, any committee reports? Before I go there, any other new business that think of? No, okay. Committee reports?
The policy committee just met before this meeting. We reviewed a number of policies, some of which will be coming for first reading or reaffirmation. And Mr. Rooney, if you want to talk more, he shared with us that he's working on a huge spreadsheet to organize.
The board members love it when they walk by my office and see me with this huge spreadsheet. So what I'm trying to do with your policies right now, and actually, Northwood's done, is I created a spreadsheet of all the policies that the School Boards Association lists, right? And so you have 3 different recommendations there. You have a P policy, which is a priority required by law. Then you have an R policy, which is recommended. And then you have an optional policy. So within that spreadsheet on each policy, it lists the dates that the School Boards Association updated those. Then in the next column, I've gone through all your policies and written the dates that you have approved those. When that spreadsheet's input into, when all that information is input into the spreadsheet, we're gonna color code things so the board, the policy committee can clearly see what the priorities need to be for each policy. Now, the caveat to that is when we get the spring update and the fall update, that sort of just goes to the side and we do those because those are current. But I'm hoping that once we have that structure in place, that we'll be able to really update your policy committee, your policy book rather quickly, and maybe eliminate some optional policies that aren't really pertinent, and focus on those priority policies and those recommended policies. So maybe shrink a little bit, maybe grow a little bit, but And then you'll, be on a cycle. And I'll let you know that, I couldn't really do that during budget season. I really couldn't do it last July to September, but I have the time now, and so Northwood is done. So I'm excited to bring that to the policy committee at our next meeting. And we might even present that to the board so the board can see what we've been working on.
All right.
The budget committee has not yet met for the reorganization meeting, but I'm looking right now, and if
It's
you
the
want to jump in,
16th.
it's the 16th that we do meet of this month.
And you're pretty full staff, right? Almost?
Actually, no, because some people who were write-ins, who technically were elected, have chosen not to.
Oh.
So as I understand it right now, we're down we have a 3-year opening and possibly a 2-year opening, but I'm not confirming.
Hear that?
the 2 year.
Kitty's over there? If you want to join the budget committee for 18.
You want to join?
Emily's going to Roanoke, she You made a lot of trips.
All right, anything else, Brian?
I know there's a number of clubs happening, but there's no updates from the clubs committee, so I know that things are going great, and I appreciate that, so.
Cool. All right, Stephanie.
There have been no meetings that I've been a part of, so my question was, is there a calendar of when these committees meet, so that I have an idea of the ones that I've been assigned to?
There isn't a calendar because each committee sets its own
Right.
Well,
schedule. What committees are you on?
I guess.
So I'm on the communication committee,
And the teachers' negotiation.
teachers
Right, so
negotiation.
so teacher negotiation, what will happen is the association will give me an intent to bargain in August,
Okay,
and then I will bring that back to the board.
okay, so that won't,
And the
nothing
board-
will happen until August.
The board
Okay.
will accept that,
Okay.
and then we will schedule a sort of organizational meeting. So you'll have either me, Nate, or Mr. O'Sullivan there as your administrator, and the association, and then we'll do ground rules at that meeting, and we'll also schedule out our sessions at that meeting.
Perfect.
And then you'll know,
Yeah.
and our hope is to have negotiations done prior to Thanksgiving, hopefully. Is that true?
Okay.
Well, I mean, generally, that's about when it falls, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then take
The
it from there.
budget committee needs it.
Perfect. And then calendar committee, I think you said that was like January, February?
Yeah, we meet generally early January, twice.
Not for a while. And then what about the communication committee?
That's a board.
They meet once every
yeah.
4 years. I haven't been to a meeting.
No, so the communication is, that's between you, that issue and Amy.
Yeah.
Me and, when I first started, it was me and Keith, like we're running the Facebook page. We're doing a newsletter, that kind of stuff. So you kind of just like meet when you can and,
Once every 4
So it's just the two of us?
yep.
Okay, so we're the committee. All right.
Yeah, and you can also include me.
So I'll
for-
talk with her. All right.
Yeah, like, I have a newsletter that goes out quarterly, and sometimes I try to,
He's got a Twitter handle.
I do, I don't use it, I don't even know. I used to say twit, and then they started laughing, it's tweet. Right?
All right, so we'll connect on that. All right. Thank you. Those are my only questions.
Okay, on mine, the only committee that we met, actually, yeah, Emergency Management Committee met. We're going to be having a exercise with Homeland Security on Tuesday. So tabletop.
Can somebody
exercise.
send me the schedule for that, because I think I might be able to come.
9 to
Ready
11.
operate that elevator?
9 to 11, 8 and 9? Okay.
And then AAR just afterwards.
After action review.
Oh, the debrief and reflection?
Yeah.
Yeah, the AAR.
Yes.
How'd we do? Okay.
No, 3 positives, 3 negatives. What can we improve on? What can we
yeah.
not improve on? All the good stuff. So I lost my agenda.
I got sub-rate information, old business.
All right, so committee reports is done. Old business, sub-rate information.
Page 74, I'll walk you through what's slightly confusing. So we tried to take a look at your previous years. So we looked at FY18, And you had in the two sublines budgeted $35,000 and $25,000 respectively. Do you see that in the first column? And then we looked at the actuals, right? And then we took the actuals and adjusted them to $80 a day, right? So see that 32,800 and that 22,800? Then you take those numbers and compare them back to your FY18 budget, and you can see that even at $80 a day, you would have been under budget, right? Then in the next column down, we're taking a look at FY20, because we can't really do FY19, because it's not, now we need to project into the future. We can't really, all right? And, we based it on 500 hours, which I think, based on history, is a little high, and you can see that, the worst-case scenario is you budgeted 35 and it's going to cost you 40, and you budgeted 20,045 and it's going to cost you 22,080. That's the worst-case scenario. So if you sort of gauge those two pieces of data, you can see that you're probably going to be fine if you do that.
So I know the actuals for 17, 18 were kind of the same. I don't have my budget on me, but I know in the years past, they were astronomical. We had a huge sub rate.
Right. I mean, the thing you need to be cognizant of is your day-to-day illnesses, absences, and personal days are probably relatively static over time. But when you have an event, like an illness, a child,
Yeah.
Which is what those were.
right, then you can't really forecast or predict those. I mean, one of the events you can usually predict about 9 months out, but
It's true.
Well, maybe
Small school
seven.
that just had
Yeah.
teachers all at once.
Closer to seven.
hopefully. But, I mean, you're always going to have that variability. And so, and you can't anticipate when somebody's going to get hit with a catastrophic illness. So,
Is this going to change the long-term sub rate?
no, your long-term sub rate generally is 10 days at the sub rate, and then on the 11th day is you go to step one.
Okay.
Right. Which is why you see those overages in those lines, right? Because your building administration's goal is to gonna be able to get a consistent and certified substitute for that long-term event. And after 10 days, on the 11th day, you're gonna pay them bachelor's one.
And that's like mid, right? And then there's a long, like over 180 days.
And then on day
or-
21, we basically meet them at their step
Yeah.
if they're a certified teacher.
Right.
Okay.
So,
And if you could recap, there's like pressure from the market because we're having a difficult time finding subs.
well, there's pressure, I think.
The other schools are going up,
Mr.
right?
Well, the other schools are going up, but the reason the other schools are going up is to compete, not to take away from you.
Yeah.
But to be competitive in the area. So everybody has a concern about procuring substitutes. I can tell you this year seems a little better than last year. I don't know about Northwood, but I can tell you that last year in another school, building administrators were covering classes a lot of the time. Have you had issues with substitute coverage?
On certain days, yes.
Yeah. So, you haven't raised your sub rate in about 11 years, I think, is what I heard. And so now your sister districts have gone up to 80 and 75, I think, respectively. And again, you don't need to make this decision tonight.
If you guys don't mind, I would like to wait for the other two board members to vote on this, just to get their opinion on it. I'm all for it. I would like to see the $10 raise. I think it's needed, but I just would like their opinion, because I know we talked about this briefly last, and I know people probably have their own opinions on it, so.
Fine with me.
Yeah. So we'll tabletop this to.
That's what I did.
Sweet.
To the next one.
Yep.
You want me to just keep going?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tractor update?
Did you drive it?
It's purchased.
Please tell me you didn't drive it.
Not yet.
She'll
So
be
we-
here next week. You still can't drive it.
I'm still gonna drive it.
And sort of caveat, we had our facilities tour with the state last week,
Friday?
Friday. And the old tractor, Mr. Sayers is working on getting rid of that for money. So he's got some people coming out to give him a price, so.
Okay, is that gonna go out to bid, or just someone's just gonna sell it?
I think what he's,
Charlie's Tractors is coming to
Charlie's Tractors is coming to.
give him a
to look
sense
at
of
it.
what he would offer for it, and I think he has one other company coming to look as well.
So you don't have to, you don't,
And, I mean, that's I think the first step on the disposal of assets.
it is,
Policies.
it is. Yep, bids or other
The
means.
tractor was purchased,
Yes.
just so my minutes are right.
And we got free heat.
You got free what?
Free heat. That's what Tom told me. They threw in some heat for it, so he's really happy.
I'm confused.
Tractor came with heat.
Came with heat.
In the cab.
You know when it's
Yeah, so
cold.
you warm up.
Okay.
You got free oil.
Hey, I don't have a tractor,
Right.
with or without you. So-
Heat's gonna be really helpful in the summer.
All right,
And you got strategic plan, and I have a suspicion that you'll want to wait for your
strategic plan guy?
other board members.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you guys don't mind, just move that to the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, well, are we gonna talk about that? Because we already talked about that.
But
The next one.
you already did it.
Yeah.
done.
Okay,
I moved it up in non-public because of the security.
okay. And we'll go to parking lot items. So, school board newsletter, that's gonna be you and Amy kinda working on that. So it's an ongoing thing. It's the 1 out of 4 years committee. School safety's always ongoing. Company's presentation.
Waiting for a curriculum person.
So, that's a delay.
Actually, let's back up, because I think I'm gonna shift on that. What would you folks, I know I've given an overview competency presentation, right? So, but I heard you last time, and you said, well, what else can I do to learn? What would you folks like to know?
I like, when I mentioned I wouldn't mind going to that workshop, so if we could get a presentation on exactly what everything is, competency-based report cards, everything, the whole, I don't know how long that could take,
It
or,
could take a day.
or is there a online webinar that we could do?
How about if I do this? Why don't I pull together some short videos to share with the board?
Yeah.
And you can look at them on your own.
Yeah.
Would that help?
Yeah,
Right?
sure.
So I'll probably give you a video that's done by Two Revolutions to start, that has to do with the future of education and the difference between dreaming and dread. And in the middle, there's design, how design education. There's other things that we could give you. Mr. Byrne has an idea.
I was gonna say, one of the things you could do is, as we talked about Matt Shea, how good he was for our conference, he has a podcast that talks a lot about it,
Yeah.
and he's done a lot with it, so I would look at his podcast. Let's see, Matt and, I gotta remember, Matt and Courtney,
So we'll get you a list of,
yeah, that's a,
we'll get you a list of links. How
Okay.
does that sound?
Yeah,
And that'll help until we can.
I mean, I know that when someone gives a report, I'm gonna be like, uh-huh, not know anything about it.
Yeah, so what I'm gonna do is put some stuff together to give you guys the why, right?
Okay.
Right, and that'll help anchor. It won't be like drill down detail stuff, but it'll give you the why we need to do this, what it is.
Yeah.
And give you an overview. And I can do that in video format, and that way you can take, 3 minutes, watch a video, 3 minutes, watch a video, and we can do it that way. And then when our curriculum person comes back, we can do the presentation that way.
Okay.
We can try that. So I'll work on that this week and just email them out.
Okay,
You got that?
perfect. So, back to the strategic plan goal, we're still missing a board member.
It's up to you.
Keith, I will leave it up to you. You want to go over the strategic plan, or wait until Amy's here for the next meeting? Because we skipped it because you weren't here, and there was
Sure,
two.
sure. What do you guys want to do? I don't really have an opinion. We do a rather full agenda, if I remember correctly, so moving on. Getting everything else done first might not be a bad idea.
We're almost done.
We're almost
Yeah.
done? Oh, okay. Well, then I guess we have.
Yes, about 2 minutes ago. 2 minutes ago.
I missed it. He snuck in. You snuck in, I didn't even see you come in.
Awesome.
So, well, we already passed on it, we'll move it to next meeting.
Sounds
All right. So the next thing is the blizzard bags, that's coming up. Can we just, maybe for the May meeting, the first or second meeting, get more information on what a blizzard, I know Amy brought this up, but if you have any information on blizzard bags that we could present to people, to the board? What it actually does, what it consists of.
No, there's requirements for like participation in it for it to count. I think it's 80%, but I could be wrong. Things like
Yeah,
that.
I'll put the rules in. I'll steal a policy from a friend of mine next door to me. Right now. Because he's on the Rochester board and they do a modified like every other day. So we'll put that policy in there for you to review. You know, that should get you started.
Cool.
Makes sense?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, and then Matt for the gym.
When, I'm sorry.
That's in May,
I just put it-
so.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some information for the map for the gym, but you're
Can we
also-
bring those back for information only so we can make an informative decision in May? Just the quotes?
So the question was brought up, those were for just the length in front of the bleachers with 4 feet on either side, and then Mr. Ruth had brought up the idea of a full length. Which quotes would you like?
I'm not a big fan of the full length because no one walks all the way down and then takes a left out of the double doors. You take a left after 4 feet into the double doors. I mean, the first set of double doors, so I don't know why we need it all the way down to the end.
You have people walking, just do the other one, you?
You do, but it's, I mean, you only walk in the bleachers, so when you walk through those double doors, there's gonna be 4 feet of mat there. You take a right, you walk all the way down, and there's 4 feet extended on there. I think that's enough.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
Perhaps we could have the facilities committee meet before our next meeting, or before the May meeting, and come back to us with a recommendation for the board.
Okay.
And that way we don't need to bring everything to the board meeting, we can just have the recommendation from facilities and make a decision based on that.
That's me and Amy, so we'll get it done.
Right, so I'm gonna offer you some support there. You ready?
Shoot.
The great thing about support is you can take it or take it. So, I'm gonna have Mr. O'Sullivan be your like organizer, right? And schedule that out and hopefully come up with a standard meeting time, you know, and duration so we can make sure that the facility committee is able to meet. And that way, the administrators, the facility manager, and the business administrator, if a board member isn't able to attend, they can still progress, and they can still go, and they can still make recommendations, and bring it back to the board. I certainly understand limitations in schedules, but even if you need to cancel a meeting every now and then, at least you have a standard kind of flow in time. So, that's my recommendation.
Sure. I like your recommendation.
Good. So I wrote that down.
So that's the end of parking lot items. Moving on to school board timeline. Oh, yeah, not in July. All right, so April, teacher evaluation summaries have been completed. Field trip, special events have been planned. How's the 8th grade field trip and all that?
Back to teacher evaluation summaries is when Jocelyn comes in after nominations to give you themes that she's seen in her evaluations, right?
But the evaluations are done,
The
though.
evaluations are done, the nominations are done, but she has to come back and give you like that summary thing.
So we're expecting that next meeting? So, special events, field trips. How's the 8th grade field trip going? Is that,
It was great.
Yep, there's still some fundraising to be done, but we have vetted and approved the contract through the attorney in Primex, and plans are in
Going on.
place.
cool. We did the renomination of professional and support staff and the non-CBA staff. We did that in non-public. April 15th deadline for renominations, that's part of the whole process. Approved spring fundraisers, we've been doing that all along. Set board goals.
That's why you need to review your student plan, your strategic plan, right?
Yep. So,
So I'll make sure the strategic plan in your next packet, I'll bring you papers.
Yep.
And then the,
So
do you have your goals?
I have them, if you want them.
Can you, can you email those to me so I can make sure they're updated in the packet at some point?
So also, can you email those to everybody? Because I think the reason why we have the board goals is also to either update them, or if you have a goal that you want to bring forward as well. I think
Yeah.
that's the,
So I think with the goals too, what might be nice to have is have our ratings from last year, so that we look at them and see, what is it that we need to improve upon and how to and stuff like that. And I have all this stuff here, so I'll give this to you to get in
Sure.
the packet.
We'll pull it all together and get you set. And then, my recommendation is this is gonna take you a while next time, so try to keep your agenda light.
Yep.
You're gonna have to focus on this for a while. I got it, we're good. All right.
So goals is the
And
next
your
one.
surplus fund discussion will start at the business meeting next,
April, right?
yes. Yep. So, Mr. McGuigan, I'm sorry, I'm gonna back up real quick. Mr. O'Sullivan was able to get Nottingham squished down to a range, and he is working on Northwood now. So in your next packet, you'll have a beginning kind of loose fund balance, because you still got things going. But
Cool.
So could I ask that, we remind them that, we're looking for the information about, the money we've pledged to give back to the town.
yeah,
As well
he's
as
working
the-
on that. I've
okay.
already done that.
Okay,
Yep.
great.
He's already worked with Mr. Byrne on special ed, and he's got that.
Thank you.
If I remember correctly, last year we had a list of potential surplus. Is that something is that a standard thing, or was that a one-time thing?
You talking about the wish list?
Yeah, we had a list that when we were
I know everybody loves
Cringed
that.
in my seat.
discussing surplus spending,
I think a list of the things that the administration came back as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Right.
in priority order as to what they think money needs to be spent on in the school. Yeah, I think that was very
So
helpful last
maybe
year.
you and I can work on that next week?
Yeah,
That'd be
bounce it
okay.
off the, what's it called? The capital improvement plan.
Yeah, right.
So, can you make an appointment? We'll start that.
Do you want to combine it with our other appointment?
Wednesday at 9:30? Wednesday at noon?
No, not that one, the other one.
The one that you talked about making an appointment earlier today.
I will make an appointment.
We're busy Wednesday, I can see it. We've got 3 meetings. The same attendees.
So what I found useful in the past year about that list was especially the priority of it. Like there's a bunch of stuff like nice to haves, have to haves, and then wishes or whatever, and having them laid out and labeled thusly, I think helped me at least make decisions last year.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a structure like needs and wants,
Yeah.
right?
And dreams.
Yeah, sure.
And dreads. Yeah.
All right, so just looking out into May, update on summer maintenance facility renovations, that'll be a facilities committee thing. Discussion of summer school proposals with board, renewal of lease for after-school program, kindergarten grade 1 registration, teacher appreciation day, which we did approve $250 for them to meet. Volunteer appreciation day, beginning discussion of graduation awards and nominations, set graduation date, which tentatively right now is the 20th. Summer school employment posted, surplus fund discussion again, and general review with board and non-public on professional evaluations. So, all right, so setting future agenda items, do you have your list?
So we got strategic plan.
Subrate's gonna be on again.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Subrate.
We're gonna revisit the subrate info.
Yeah. I thought you said separate.
So did I.
The subrate.
Yep.
The sign will be back on the next meeting.
Oh, the sign,
The sign discussion.
the fund balance.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to put it in a parking lot item, because we also discussed the last day will be back on for May 2nd.
No, I put that on the next,
Was there much discussion about the sign? Sorry, I missed.
no, because my recommendation is where Mr. O'Sullivan is tightening up the financials right now, that might be good information to have for the board before they make that decision.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I did have the one piece of information I wanted to add, if you guys had a discussion, was that we were thinking about taking the old sign and possibly donating it to the
right.
town or seeing if they wanted it. I ran it by the selectmen, or one of the selectmen to bring to the meeting, and it got kind of mixed reviews at their meeting, I guess, so it's not really clear that they want it. It could be kind of.
Possibly the police department might want it too, so if they don't want it, we might want it.
Discussion with them next week.
I think there was some concern that it might be a money pit, which might well be.
Well, there's some data. There's some data that justifies that.
Yeah, there's no newspaper, you put it
Oh, I
out
forgot
front
you
so
were
people
you're
know
here. I
when
guess you could have
meetings
spoken
are.
to
I'm working on it.
that. Anyway, I just wanted to add that before I forgot.
Thank you.
Blizzard bags,
Blizzard bags.
information.
Is that gonna be at the next meeting, or
Yeah.
just at?
Yep. And then the facility team is the facility. Yeah.
No, yeah, you
Blizzard
cor-
bags.
correct. Blizzard bags,
Oh, is
we want information on it, so you
Yeah.
could put it in that one or the first one, meeting in May, whatever, I don't care.
Whatever you like.
Well, as I look at your agenda, that with your strategic plan and your goals and those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other things, that's a good agenda. That's a fair agenda. I think you'll be able to manage that and give the time that the goals and the strategic plan require.
Yep. Well, one other thing too is that you were gonna come out with that spreadsheet for policies.
Yeah, I may not bring that to your meeting. I may not bring that. If it's ready, I'm going to bring it.
Okay.
Mr. McGuigan's seen me working on it. It's done.
Okay, so we got strategic plan to separate, the sign, fund balance, which is your surplus, blizzard bags. Did I miss something?
Sign,
I've got the sign,
facilities committee report.
that's the one I missed.
Oh, no, what did I get in?
And that's around the gym maps
Or any other. Yeah.
or anything else.
Yep.
Okay,
And also, if there's sign information, that could go to facilities committee too, first. That might be kind of good as well. If there is, there is. If
No, I'm just saying, do you want, yeah, I need the facilities committee to sort of say, this is what we're looking for a sign, this is the size that we want, this is the kind of sign, and then we.
oh, I shouldn't be on the
And then we
committee.
can. I figure with your schedule, if we schedule it, you won't be there when we,
It'll be 72 by 72.
right, we're not getting a jumbotron, okay?
Come on.
But,
Yes, but not
and then we can go out and bid it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be a bid. But,
Yeah, I mean, if you can get that to the facilities committee or get the
Well,
requirements
we
from
need to-
them and then bring it to the board with all that information, the facilities committee's requests, and then, we can decide whether we're gonna go for bid then. I think that'd be, with maybe some estimates at that point. Because it could be if, you do some estimates and they're $100,000,
I could look at
we may not be interested in.
what
bidding
Co Brown
that, right?
did too. I'm sure they got,
Isn't that
Well-
basically what
yeah, probably not that extravagant, but pretty close.
Mr. Wells, you can also, Officer Wells, you can also look at Rochester Police Department. Call them, they have a nice sign.
Okay. Yeah.
It's relatively
I'll
new.
do some digging.
all right.
All right, so future meetings, April 8th, we have a joint board meeting at 6:15 at the SAU. And then our next regular board meeting's on the 18th at 6:30 here. And following that, another regular board meeting on the 2nd.
I may interject.
Yes.
The joint board meeting on the 8th is kind of an important one. I think we're going to be voting on the superintendent's contract, which is one of our prime jobs as school board members.
It's also the reorg meeting for the.
It's
joint
also the
board.
reorg, that's true, it is a reorg meeting, so I would urge everyone to try to attend that if you can.
Yeah.
All right, continue on. Closing public comment. Come on, someone wants to say something. No?
To the mic?
Bueller?
You gotta tell us your name.
And where you live.
Oh, on the bottom.
Oh. Phew.
You can start saying too if you want.
Go for it.
I'm Emily. I'm from Northwood, and thanks
for doing this, I guess, because I know I probably wouldn't want to come and sit here for like upwards of like 2 hours sometimes just talking about stuff like this. But I don't know. I just felt like comfortable coming here and sitting and listening to you guys like talk about like important stuff like this. So
Cool.
thank you.
So you're going to Roanoke?
Hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully?
Yeah.
What are you going to major in?
History.
History? Nice.
One brave girl.
Do you need forms signed, or are you all set?
They don't have a.
Oh yeah, no, we just came here, watch everything, and then write like a summary about it.
Okay, if you need any verification, just have headmaster get in touch with me. All right?
Yeah, because you've all signed the list, right?
Yes, because I haven't, right, you're all set. Yeah.
Cool.
So if you're writing a summary, I know the forum publishes like summaries of school board meetings, and we did not have a reporter here tonight, so if you're interested in getting that out, send that to them. I'm sure they'd be happy to publish it for us.
And it pays $0.
Just your time.
It's important to save for college.
Yeah, but look at the experience you can put
That's
on your
right,
application,
exactly.
right?
Nice. All right. Any board member would like to speak at this time? Yes.
Yeah, I thank you for running the meeting. I apologize for being late today. I was
No.
still having my own crises at home to deal with.
Yeah, my pleasure. It was entertaining. All right, so moving on to closing public comment. Actually, we already did that, sorry. Are we in need for a non-public session? All right, I will take a motion for adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right. All right, all in favor? Motion passes 4-0. It's 7:55.